はい、ということで、じゃあ、ね、本題のその実際に、ね、
例文をね、
例文というか、はい、そのシステムの中にこれから入り込んでですね、
そうですね、
どんなものがこう実際に使えるのかというのをちょっと紹介してもらおうかと思うんだけど、
そうですね、まあ、カナダの青年といいますか、大学卒業した25、6歳の人がですね、仕事を探してたんですよね、で僕の事務所へ来たんですよ、で私はちょっと今我々いりませんけれども、一般その仕事を探しについて話しましょうと、私それを録音しますと。で彼はこの人はですね、私林産業界ですから、林産業界でその職場を探してたんですよ。で私は今我々は人はいりませんよと、ただ私はいろいろこの林産業界について説明します、他の人も紹介します、ただあなたは今私とインタビューしてくださいと。そしてそれがうちのこのインタビューですね。
なったわけですね。
でその中のまあ3 paragraphs、一応これからまあ流します。
I've always had an interest in business. My father has been in business, for the last 30 years. When I was younger, I was partial to the environment, working out of doors and being, in nature. But as you grow older, you tend to, the environment gets a little harsh, and then you want to move inside. And sort of that's what I'm looking for now, is sort of maybe a job that can, has a combination of both. But we'll see.
So that made you look at the forest industry. What sorts of things have you been doing? First of all, when did you graduate, and what has been your sort of job hunting strategy?
I graduated this past April 2004, and I went to visit my girlfriend in Maui for 3 weeks, and that turned into 4 months. I didn't have a legal job there, but now I'm back here, and I started my search, the traditional type search, job sites, newspapers. I'm independent, maybe to a fault, and so I wanted to sort of look for the job myself. The competition is just fierce when it comes to those jobs that are advertised in the papers or on the job sites. 1,000 people have seen them, maybe 30,000, right? So I've sort of gone away from that and tried to do the networking as much as possible.
So I'm talking to Fraser. Fraser is looking for a job. So in the portion that we just listened to, Fraser is explaining some of his brief history and his attitude in terms of looking for work. And so one phrase, now our learners would go in there and they would choose phrases that they find useful to them. For example, for the last 30 years. Now, I think that's a useful phrase because in some languages that I know, in French we say that, for the last 30 years. But in Japanese we don't say for the last 30 years. So it becomes a way that a non-native speaker would not normally use the words. So a phrase is just that. The native speaker, Japanese native speaker, will use words in a certain way that to me as a non-native speaker is not something that I do naturally. So I have to learn that. So I learn that from the phrases. So for the last 30 years is a good phrase. Then Fraser says, I was partial to the environment. Partial to the environment. Now that's a bit of a strange phrase because partial means that you play favorites. You are in favor of something. But everyone is in favor of the environment. So in a way, partial to the environment is a phrase. It's not so common. So maybe a lower intermediate learner wouldn't choose this phrase. But it's a nice phrase to use. So maybe a more advanced learner would choose that phrase because they found it interesting. Okay? But here's another phrase, as you grow older. Now that's a very common phrase.
Right.
As you grow older. As you grow wiser. As you grow older. That's the kind of phrase that people have to learn. But in our system, we don't give the phrase. We want the learner to choose a phrase, and then that will be more meaningful for them. Here's another phrase. What I'm looking for now. What I'm looking for now. Okay? Or here's another phrase. Here Fraser talks about going to job interviews, and he makes the point that if you go to the websites that have a lot of job offers, everybody has seen those. So when he goes to see the company that placed the ad, there's just too much competition. So he says, the competition is just fierce. The competition is just fierce. Now, the average non-native speaker is not going to use the word fierce because you think of fierce animals, fierce tiger. But here the competition is fierce. But for an advanced learner, if he uses the word the competition is fierce, that makes a very good impression on the listener. That elevates, that improves the level of his English. And then the last phrase that I underlined here is as much as possible. Now that again is a more common phrase. That is a phrase that everybody has to know. But say a Japanese speaker who's not familiar with the phrase as much as possible is not going to say as much as possible. Because in Japanese we don't say it that way. So those are just some examples of phrases in this short text. Some are very common phrases and some are more sophisticated phrases. But this whole text is already an advanced text. Okay?
Right.
We have texts that are easier, but this would be a fairly advanced text. And we would advise our learners to listen to it many, many, many times.